right, we are back with Wild and Well Together. He said, she said. I'm Becca, and John's here too. It's good to see you.
Good to see you again.
I'm dropping things. Let me set them to the side. How are you today?
I'm a little bit tired. It's been a week, but I'm glad to be here.
Cool.
This is a energizing part of my week.
Nice. Well, it's good to see you. Yeah, there's lots going on in life. So thank you for taking time to be here. Let's do this or that. All right, I heard this term and it's new. So, listeners, all of you out there, please fill in, teach us this idea of a burr month, BER, not like shivery burr, but BER, that it's September, October, November, December, that we are now in the burr months of the year. So, new term. I'm learning new things today.
And the uh the signal of the Burr months are pumpkin spice lattes going up on menus, going up on
PSLs, here we go.
going up on billboards in the grocery store. Would you rather a pumpkin spice latte or your other ride or die drink?
Ooh, okay. Listeners, John, no judgment here. I'm not a pumpkin spice latte girl. I'm just not one of those girlies.
Agreed. Thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. Neither am I.
Oh, we're shared in this. Okay, my ride or die is a drip coffee, a black drip. Hook me up, give me some caffeine in my system. I can do a tea, I can do other things, but my ride or die, oh, I can picture it feeling cozy, um, nice warm coffee steaming, but it is not a pumpkin spice latte.
Same. I'm same. Black coffee. And this gets into a ritual, which is what we're going to talk about today, rituals and rhythms, and how those impact our wellness on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. What do you see the value in a ritual or rhythms in your life?
They give us a framework or this container for us to live purposefully, like we talked about in the last podcast, or having rhythms and rituals that allow for us to have a systems approach to life, these anchoring places in a tired week or a really high week. These rituals allow us, in my opinion, to have stepping stones to walk across or to, again, anchor us. I'm going to use that term again, to anchor us into a space of processing, of finding meaning, of looking forward to in a season of grief or in a season of blah. It allows us to say, oh, love that cup of coffee in the morning. When I've been up a couple times in the night, like that cup of coffee is a sweet, soothing thing. So I think that there's something in that for me too. What about you?
100%. It's about the coffee, but it's not about the coffee, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay. I choose, and man, this sounds very hoity toity, but I choose quality over convenience when it comes to coffee.
Okay.
So, like, I'm not a K cup fan. No, no issues if you are, but come to my house, make you a good cup of coffee. In those like
Are you
four
like
minutes,
Breville status? We're just gonna go there. We're calling out names.
no, I can't. I don't know how to like pull espresso shots, so I'm not. And trust me, I did some digging around on Reddit, and you can be made to feel very inferior in your coffee chops with one Reddit question.
Okay.
But I normally do a pour over or
Mm.
an AeroPress. In those 3 to 4 minutes of making coffee, ideally before everyone else is awake,
Yeah.
are is um, instrumental in like mental sorting for me. What am I going to do? Honestly, like what is the very next thing that I'm going to do?
Yeah.
But it's a forced pause at the start of my day
Yes.
to focus on one thing. And what happens if I don't do it well is I make a bad cup of coffee and then I have to start over again. So it commands my focus. It's and it kind of centers me, which I didn't really think about until we started talking about what our rituals are. But that is really important to me on a daily basis is making coffee. So when I'm out of beans, it's existential.
Watch out, kids. Watch out.
Watch out, kids. Yeah, exactly.
I think with you saying that it centers you, that's core purpose to rituals. That grounding, that centering, that I am more me or I am more aware of me. As we talk about rituals and rhythms, is this space that's the impetus for your day. Or maybe it's, brushing your teeth for some people, or it's putting on music, or it's whatever. But I like that you started with the start of your day, this discussion, because how often do we jump into my favorite ritual is Christmas, which don't get me wrong, there's a lot of fun Christmas things that we'll get to. But that's so grandiose. So coming back to the daily, rituals and rhythms can happen in the moment. They take us to being more present, which that means from a wellness standpoint, we'll go there, that then I'm more present and therefore my brain has actual space to process or to exist. And my body is probably regulating and breathing at a normal level. Whereas if your kids come in and you're doing 15 other things before you get that coffee, you're probably already dysregulated before you even start your day.
Yes, it looks different, but even the task of making the coffee, if the kids are around, there's chaos behind it, that alone is still helpful despite the chaos around me.
Mm.
It's helpful, and I think that's one of the things about rituals that can be hard, though, is what is a ritual that can have the effect that we're talking about, recentering you, maybe it's bringing back to your focus, that can happen when the world is happening around you. You know, you can be out in public, you can be at home, where you could be on a plane. I don't have that ritual yet. I'm still in search of that ritual, but I'm not there yet. So I'm here to learn how to get there, Becca.
That's funny that you say that because Jen and I did like unpopular opinions. And one of the things I mentioned is that like I take my shoes off. I don't take my socks off, but on a plane, I take my shoes off. I'm that girl. And whether it's long haul flight or it's me in my kitchen or it's me out in the grass, wherever it is, and maybe it's for my soccer days, I don't know. But I love my feet touching the ground. Like, that is a grounding thing for me, and so with you bringing up what's something that you do, in this, I'll own, I do practice what I preach, and so for me, it's, can I feel the ground? Because if I can feel the ground, even when my head can be often pulled into whimsical thoughts, into the futuristic thoughts, into 15 different things of chaos, or my kids with their noises, I get dysregulated or I get pulled in a different way, and so a ritual for me is coming back in a practical, tactical thing for me is to feel my feet present on the ground. We joke that Nick, my hubby, right? He's like Mr. Trifecta. He's a babe, he's brilliant, and he's just a good human. I'm very blessed by who I'm married to, but he's like a
Preach.
rock. He's steady, and I'm like this balloon that bounces around. And good thing that we are tethered together because he holds me in a really healthy place. And to all those listeners, we both have a healthy independence. Please hear me say that too. I'm not codependent. However, his existence is very calming, and my existence is very life giving and fun and adventurous. And those aren't mutually exclusive. However, we tend on a spectrum to fall on each of those sides. And so in that, and whether that's on an airplane or wherever, I wear socks, but it is to feel very calmed by the ground, by the anchoring of the ground. Will that be it for you? I don't know. Will it be breathing and holding your chest? I know some people do that. Is it an awareness? And we'll share these. I call them 60 seconds to centered. We'll share these often and each time, but it's just one of those things that it's like, okay, how do I find something that in the middle of New York City or in fishing on a boat, if I feel seasick, whatever it may be, that I can come into that space of grounding. So those can be those minute by minute rituals or
Yeah.
rhythms that we have.
Well, I will tell you, I will extend more grace next time I see someone on a plane with their shoes off. I'm like, oh, they're just ground. It's just their ritual. It's okay. Look past it.
I realize that there's full judgment. We may have listeners stop listening at this point and be so grossed out. Again, it's a spectrum and I'm going to own it. I'm be real from the start on like intimate personal things
Yeah.
as well as helpful tools. And so that's
You,
where it's at though for me. But for you, actually, let's go to the listener. One, are you a PSL girly or a dude who likes pumpkin spice lattes?
mhm.
Or are you ride or die from the start and all year round? That's the first question. Second question is, what are some rituals that you like in your daily practice? Because I think that's good to start thinking, what rituals do I hold? Again, I'll go to my husband because he's very grounding human. He wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning to go work out because similar to your coffee, when he doesn't get that, he's out of sync. And so for him, he has to say no to other things, but then that allows him to go do what starts his day well. And then he's better off and we're all better off. And there's this healthy, what's the right word? This healthy microcosm within our house because he's hitting his rhythms, I'm hitting mine. And a lot of times we don't even call them that. We don't even know that, right? It just is these threads that we have in our life. So we started with the start of your day. Let's like branch out now. What's a weekly rhythm that you have or that comes to mind?
Yeah. The weekly rhythm really is on Sunday. We go to church and we've gotten in a much more consistent rhythm there. And the benefit of that is like started church service, like it's my mind is racing. I'm thinking about anything other than what's being talked about. and then the internal volume starts to turn down, goes from 11 down to, 5, and I'm present and I'm focused on what's being discussed, and I leave there feeling calmer, feeling more like my priorities are more in sync, the ability to be present, and that on a weekly basis has been really helpful for me and then, for the family as a whole. This looks like different things for different people, right? Whether it's more structured religion or spirituality, or
Yeah.
it could just be, like my wife just started adult ballet classes. Okay. And so I'm not going to call this a rhythm yet
Hey.
because it's finished week 2, but it's great. She's loving it. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yes. You
This is,
mean it's amazing.
oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's good. So Wednesday night,
Mhm.
there's she's not having to make a decision. She's challenging herself in a way that is not used to, and is taking instruction as opposed to giving it. Because so much of what we do, or parenting or at work, is we're making decisions all the time, and you get decision making fatigue. And if nothing else, having an hour where you're not making a decision is a reprieve and a rhythm that gets you energized to go back in and handle all that life throws at us on a weekly basis.
And are you solo dad or are you at work?
I'm a solo dad. Yeah, got it. Holding down the fort. Nothing's caught on fire yet. The
Your
dog
dad
does
is
his
you're
part.
not a babysitter, you're dad. If I could say that
That's
to
right. But
anyone,
no, that is true.
you're not a babysitter dads, you are dad. And
No,
so,
we don't use daddy daycare. That's not a
yeah,
term. I mean,
it's dad time.
yeah, that's right.
Cool. That's awesome. And good for her. I love that. I
Yeah.
am
What's your weekly rhythm?
so similarly, we as a family and as individuals find just really grounding in going to church. And so that's been something for us. Like you said, even to have childcare or like this hour where I'm not making a decision, I can sit and get, I can participate, I can be as involved or as less involved as I need to be or want to be. But it's a time and a place where my mind, my soul, my learning is fed. And that's rare as adults, I think, that we get to receive. And so again, thank you for those teachers out there, those people who are leading the way spiritually, because it is a different avenue and it is a blessing in a world that just feels busy and fast. And so it's fun because sometimes it's really in depth and other times it's like, not really. And with you sharing about your wife's time out and what she does of the ballet, that is so cool to me. And it reminded me, and this gets pretty vulnerable, but I'm gonna share it. That's why I started this. I'm a mental health provider, so we'll give that as backstory. So Lulu, our youngest, she's born and 2 days old, she stops breathing. And so ambulance to children's again, thank goodness for medicine and access to medicine. She's okay now. But I didn't realize in the time and over the next 6 months, so it's because of that incident or hormones and everything else, I go through postpartum depression. And I didn't know PPD through Marcus and having my first, I didn't know that that was a thing. I
Mhm.
knew it from listening to other women and holding space for them in that, but I did not know it from my own experience. And so Nick had a very frank conversation, a very loving conversation with me. And he said, this is August to March. And he goes, Beck, I think you need to do something. I think you need to find some support. And again, I'm like a yogi and a mental health provider. I'm like, okay. It was hard to hear. And yet I was like, you're right. I do. And so Sunday nights became this sacred time where I was the yoga teacher for 2 classes on Sunday nights. It was a slow flow class and then yoga nidra. It's meditation. And
Yeah.
it's 2 hours though where Nick got dad solo time. And it was time for me to figure out who I was again, to find healing, to create this ritual. And so for 2.5 years, I had the gift of getting to have Sunday nights to myself and to the community of adults that would show up. And so I share that rituals sometimes are bred out of really exciting things and also out of necessities, right? So when we talk about rhythms and rituals, it was Sunday morning with the fam, met by then Sunday evenings with myself and adults to say, okay, again, this meditation, this movement, all these healthy things to then help me process the nights. As I found healing, what's coming up for me is, have you found rituals and rhythms to be a fun thing or a necessary thing or something that just comes about? Like what's the impetus of rituals and rhythms, would you say? And are
Yeah.
you aware of them?
I think I think that rituals on a daily or weekly basis it's like putting fuel in the tank or changing out the oil, and it's maintenance. But when I think of rituals on longer term basis, like an annual rituals, like that's a tradition. And those are frequent. Like I wouldn't do a tradition if it weren't, well, most traditions are fun. Um,
Yeah, healthy
and
traditions are fun.
health, healthy traditions are fun. Yeah, exactly. So like you're very familiar with the family tradition.
Oh, come on, I hope
Going
yes.
back, since I can remember purchasing one Christmas tree ever, we have always cut down a tree. And you've had the chance to participate in this over the years as a kid, as an adult with Nick, and we are my family has always, and I now carry this on, the day after Thanksgiving, packed up the car with absurd amounts of food, a bunch of rope, and a couple saws, and off into the mountains we go to go cut a tree. And are we spending way too much time setting up a picnic? Absolutely. Could we be buying a tree from the tree lot down the street? Absolutely. But we do this every year. It's something that like we look forward to. We bring friends along with us in this tradition, and it's an opportunity away from the house during the holidays after everyone's like been cooped up, ate way too much food the day prior at Thanksgiving, to get together, get out in the outdoors, and a very easy to accomplish mission, which is find the tree that's going to go into our house.
And is it a small tree or what size are y'all at?
No, it's not. We aren't doing our job if it's not a tree that is almost impossible to get through the front door and touching the ceiling. So part of that tradition, I think, am I wrong in saying your favorite part of this tradition is watching the logistics of getting this tree into the house, contorting our bodies, contorting the tree to somehow fit through the front door and then into the stand.
Yes.
Every year we do this, and it looks different for me now, but the way it looks different are semantics. We still do this.
Cool.
So those are the types of rituals that we come back to on an annual basis. Miriam and I have talked about is this is the weekend that we will go on a trip with this group of people. The decision is made. It's a time to be together with these friends, and we block the calendars a year in advance, and the location may change. It's drivable for everyone. And that's another ritual that is part of the rhythm of life of taking time away. The decision is forced upon us earlier. That weekend is sacred. We're
Mhm.
going to do this thing. We're going to be with friends, and we feel energized and like closer with our friends, um, leaving that weekend. So that's one of the things that like is a newer ritual and part of the rhythm of life for us. How about you?
Yeah.
What is a longer term ritual or rhythm look like for you?
Going into that Thursday, with Thursday being Thanksgiving and then Fridays, I knew this was like a fun ritual or something to look forward to for me is that you would be back in town. Right?
Yeah,
Because for a long time, like, although we've known each other for 3 decades, much of our last half, at least, of our friendship has been in a different state from one another.
yeah,
And so again, thank goodness for technology and all those fun things. However, a ritual and a rhythm that I looked forward to, I get to see John and his crew. Even if I don't see him for months or a year, I get to see him every Friday after Thanksgiving. Like, that is a fun, life-giving them, to our friendship, where for many years when it wouldn't be that we would hang out, all the time, and
yeah,
so that was, like, something where we'll just catch up and over good food, again, always good food, and then I would laugh. It was fun too because I knew fortunately, there's a lot of strong people in your friends and in your family that although I am strong, I would get to watch, and being an observer was the gift because literally it would be like, "Does it scrape the ceiling or not? If it does, the
yeah,
concerns will be had, and if it doesn't, yet it almost kisses it or at least can wink at it, you've won the golden ticket." And so, like, that experience is part of my childhood and early adulthood kickoff to my Christmas season. And so talk about a ritual in that, like, even though it was your family and your family's so good to me, and so thank you for inviting me in, is that I got to learn that ritual thanks to your rituals, is this idea of the ripple effect of rituals and rhythms of how, again, being social beings, the importance for our wellness is it's relational. Yes, we have our individual and then we have our collective rituals. And so
mhm.
then when I think macro or my year-long rituals, do you have any yearly, annual traditions or rituals and rhythms that are done individually?
I think one of the point of the daily ritual or weekly is that you don't have to wait 363 days to have a reprieve, right?
Mhm.
And it can happen daily. It can happen in the morning. It can happen in the afternoon or evening. And examples, is sitting down to dinner with your spouse
Mm.
or your family, that
A
familial
good
unit
roommate,
might look
yeah.
like, and being present uh, is I think is also such an important ritual. And for where we are in my life with my family, like getting a 3-year-old to keep her butt in the seat for more than about 45 seconds is a huge achievement. But I'm confident that over time this will get easier, and we stick to it like as much as we can. It's not every day, but probably 3 days a week. We're at the dinner table, the TV's off, the phones are away. I will say I had a fantasy draft last night, and
And
I got a
how's the team looking?
I got a B grade. I got a B grade, which is better than I normally get.
Okay. So look
But I
out.
had an exemption. Those don't come around very often. We are all about sitting at the table for at least 10 minutes as we're eating dinner, no distractions, and we do our best to catch up on the day as a family. And I think that is, again, that's a ritual that involves other people. It's like communal. But thank goodness that we don't have to wait for vacation to allow rituals to get us recentered or re-energized to take on whatever life is thrown at us in a given day.
Yeah, no doubt. I love to listen to music. I love live music. I love music on the radio, wherever it may be. And it's this idea of like the notes hit hard and hit home when there's a pause right before it. I love when it's a good pause and then the crescendo or a good pause and then the bass just hits or a cello, like take me home. And so when we say R&R, playing on rest and relaxation, this idea of rhythms being healthy pauses or us finding that calming and in the middle of the storm. Even if kids or family or phones going off, it's saying, nope, we're going to pause and eat. Or, nope, I'm going to make my coffee. They're so important. And let me just speak into this. The amount of times right now in our household that knees or bottom is set at a dinner table of take a seat. Over under 100.
Yeah.
Let's start those bets, And so I hear you in this season of life having some of those rhythms. And that is a rhythm though, is like, nope, the kids need to sit. And so at some point I will forget those rhythms that we even ever said knees or bottom. But in this season of life, that is a rhythm of our household constantly. Every day
Yeah.
meal, knees or bottom, like take a seat, take a seat. So I hear you in that. So coming back full circle, I think like we talked about the meaning of everyday rhythms, what it looks like, the middle of the road weekly rhythms, and then the annual ones that we get to look forward to, and how those all are anchors in our day, create meaning and purpose within our weeks. Any other closing thoughts
I
before
think,
we?
you're thinking about this through the lens of music, and bless my parents that with their fourth child coming around, they knew that we didn't have musical knack. So I've got nothing for you in that department. I think of it similarly, the overlap, but articulated differently, which is I think the rhythm is there's a surge and a retreat. And the ritual is what allows for the retreat. The surge is whatever life throws at us in a given day that we go tackle, whether it's at work, it's family life, it's with friends. It is an intentional surge and retreat. That is the rhythm, and ritual plays into that as that that time to retreat is how I think about it.
I love that because that's even we all go to work in some regards, right? There's a physical place, whether it's a mental place, that idea of like, I'm going to go do this and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to go do this and I'm going to come back. I love that idea of, yeah, a surge and then a retreat because that's in anything, even relationships, right? Where I've just spoken, like I call Mr. Trifecta. I am so grateful to be married to Nick, and we also need our own time. Let's do a ton of fun things and activities, or even dig into the hard and the messy. Okay, now I'm going to go on a bike ride, or hey, I'm going to go for a walk, or I just need to go sit and stare at a wall, whatever it may be, but like, doing something to find that space. So I love that idea.
I think the next step of this then is, dare I say that this rhythm of surge and retreat also prevents burnout in life too, right? That if
Who's the
the
expert in the room right now? Who's the expert in the room?
look at me. No, I
Oh,
think it's I think that if we're just go 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 and we hit a wall and collapse, that's not a rhythm that's predictable that is sustained. It's just a cycle of faster burnout, and these rituals that we've been talking about, I think, help sustain and mitigate the chances of burnout. And certainly within a relationship, whether you're introvert or extrovert, time away, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's the cliche for a reason. Maybe that's my excuse for I need to get away for a mountain bike ride, so that I
Maybe.
can come back and appreciate you even more,
Our
wonderful
serial
life.
hobbyist, what do you need to get away? But no, but
Yeah,
that is true though. Like, no, we're joking a little bit, but there is something very serious or very is warranted in I am a better human. You just talked about fantasy football. Nick goes once a year, either end of August, beginning of September, and they do their draft, and he comes back a better human. And it comes at sacrifice sometimes. Like he flew and met them 2 weeks after Lucy was born, and not because like he's some like negligent father. We had really frank conversations of my mom will be here. She's
yeah,
healthy now. You need to go because I know even though I'm a little bit nervous about you being gone, that's on my emotions, not on the wellness of the situation.
mhm,
Right? And so it's like, go. We're taken care of. We're safe here. And he's like, I'm going. And he comes back and he has so much life to give. That's a really healthy rhythm. I think
yeah.
that that is something that you're hitting at of just when we talk about wellness and living a life with meaning and purpose, what rituals or rhythms enhance that? Because we could talk about the shadow side. There are, and I do want to address this. For some, we say ritual, and I think it's ritualistic and you go down an unhealthy path. I want to
Mhm.
acknowledge that and say different people have different feelings and experiences. And by all means, those need to find healing and there's space for that. However, for this pod, we're talking about the healthy rhythms and the fun rituals and the ebbs and flow of life that allow us to live a better life, a healthier life, and find that healing, find that respite, find that rest.
So I want to hear from the audience what daily or weekly rituals you might have that are part of the rhythm of your life, and then what do you do, maybe monthly or annually, that you consider a ritual that is important to you, and how does that show up for you in your life?
I love that. Please send that in. The last piece on rituals and rhythms is talking about this podcast. When John and I signed up for it, it was to say, how do we offer rituals and rhythms that allow people to find wellness in their life? Not because we have all the answers, but rather because we understand that we are part of a social network. We are as humans, we are social beings. And so we need community. We need to do this in that space, in that container that we started with. That is also individual and it is that micro all the way up to the macro. What do those rhythms look like? And so we will start each podcast with something fun. It might be a this or that, or would you rather? It might be an unpopular opinion, or maybe even a skill like high low buffalo, skill buffs. So we'll have this idea of like some sort of fun thing in the beginning. And then from there, we will go into a topic that's a thread throughout the whole week, whether people listen to her huddles on Mondays, he said, she said on Wednesdays, or Fan Fridays that they've submitted things. So please do submit. We will read them. We will listen to them. We will share them. So for better or for worse, they will be out for people to listen to because we do believe in the social connection and that we were designed for community. And so there's that plug. And then the last thing is my background is in mental health. And so students really encouraged me to come into a place of offering, it's called 60 Seconds to Centered. And it's this idea that it takes 60 seconds, 1 minute to find some sort of peace, some sort of grounding, some sort of activity that regulates us. I know that that's a buzzword right now. We talk about the nervous system, that's a buzzword, but this idea of the regulation inside me, how I operate, it's the autonomic, but that's the idea that it's operating without me having to control it. If I come to awareness of it, I can actually bring myself into a calm place. And so 60 Seconds to Centered will be a rhythm every week. And the one for this week, call it homework. If that's like a word that does not sit well, call it fun experience, Force Family Fun from the Wild and Well podcast fam. Force Family Fun is go outside 60 seconds each day. That's 1 minute. Call it your smoke break, call it whatever, but go out for 1 minute each day and feel yourself in the air. Feel your feet on the ground. Our body, brain, neurologically needs that. And so the homework, Force Family Fun, the 60 Seconds to Centered task is to go outside 60 seconds, breathe in the fresh air, take in the space around you, notice things.
Under 2 degrees here, I'm gonna go do it anyway. Oh no, we're doing it. We don't get to change the weather. It's part of the deal.
All right, here's one more thing. This is like a toolbox. When we say 60 seconds to centered, that was very fast. Let me calm myself. When we say 60 seconds to centered, it may not work. And you might be like, boo, I'll give that a thumbs down. That's okay. Or it doesn't work in this season. I offer that always of think of these as tools in a toolbox. And sometimes you're pulling a wrench or a screwdriver or something else. And sometimes you're just closing it up and you're saying, no, not today. Or maybe, hey, I like this other tool. I act like I know tools well. It's
No,
called
you
a
nailed it.
spade.
Great.
Um,
Throw Allen wrench in there. It's perfect.
I wish with that, yeah, okay, we're just gonna stop there because that's where this conversation goes downhill for me real quick. But you'll have to teach me with all the woodwork and everything else that you do. You'll have to teach me those terms. So good to be with you, John. Thank you for listening to everyone else, and please do submit the answers to these questions. What are your rhythms, weekly, monthly, and
And
beyond?
Beck, how can excuse me, how can our audience submit?
Yes. Okay, so you can check us out on socials, wildandwelltogether.com. And you can submit in the DMs. You can, yeah, submit online. There's those. Send in a voice memo. We'll check them. We'll listen. We're found on Apple and or Spotify. Wherever you listen, you can submit in the comments too. We would love, love, love to hear from you because we believe in the collective.
Anyway, but not accepting carrier pigeon yet.
Okay, if
Not yet.
we're gonna figure it. John needs a medal, and somehow our rhythm is that we receive snail mail or carrier pigeon or those
Snail mail
dancing. What are those
snail
dancing
mail feels
people?
realistic. Carrier pigeon less so.
All right, we've done enough. And in the next year, that's our goal. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.